Hi again. My name is Ryan Hui. To mark Guide Dog Access Awareness Month, I got the opportunity to speak with guide dog handler Blair. He has some things that he wants employers to know about guide dog rights in the workplace. Listen to their interview here.
Hi, my name is Blair Young.
Blair, can you describe what your life was like before you had a guide dog?
I never really felt comfortable using a white cane, although it really helped me in getting, from point A to point B. The problem I found was that it would detect an object, but it would not stop me from walking into that object. And as my vision progressed in the area of losing more, I just found that I wasn't getting out as much and not doing as much because I didn't want to have to deal with all the situations that I personally ran into with using a white cane. Once CNIB got involved in the guide dog program, I made the decision that I was going to apply for a dog based on the fact that I had worked for CNIB for 28 years. So I kind of knew what CNIB was all about and what I would be getting.
That's perfect. And so you kind of touched on this a bit, but why did you apply for a guide dog then?
Well, my vision got to the point where I was constantly having to depend on somebody else. Even though I had a white cane, I wouldn't venture too far. I found myself always looking down all the time. And whenever we would travel somewhere, I really was missing a lot. And my independence was not increasing. I felt more like it was decreasing for me. So that's when I made the decision that it's time for me to start researching a guide dog. So I started watching different videos, talking to different groups, finding out what people, experiences were with their guide dog. And I thought, I really think this is going to be good for me. So I made the decision to apply.
And what is kind of one thing that you wish people knew about guide dogs?
What I've in the short time that I've had Kelly, one thing that really bothers me, I guess, a lot is the fact that people feel that they can just come up and talk to her and pet her and such. And when she's working, it's very distractive. I find it difficult to find the proper soft words so that you don't come across as an angry person. But at the same time, sometimes you have to be a little stern in your voice to get your point across. I think there's a lot of education that has to be had, in order to get people to start thinking that when you see a guide dog, you don't bother them. You can talk to me if you want, but you don't bother with the dog.
As a guide dog handler, what barriers have you faced?
As a guide dog handler, I've faced barriers of going into different restaurants, people questioning, whether my guide dog Kelly is a real guide dog because it doesn't say service on her harness. It just says, it says CNIB guide dog. But on the whole, I think, or at least in St. John here, if people ask me for identification in restaurants and places like that, I will show them that. I had a few incidents at Costco, which were resolved, and now I don't have any problems there whatsoever. And again, it was the question of, do you have a service dog? And I would say, I have a guide dog. And they would say, but it's not a service dog. And then, you have to go into this big explanation, and I don't feel I should have to do that to get into a store.
How has CNIB provided you with some advocacy skills to overcome these barriers?
Well, CNIB has a great staff on board in the area of advocacy, and of course other departments as well. But anytime we have an issue, I will send off an email or a text, and the reply is rather quick, with either links as to where I can get information and provide it to the situation in question, or they will speak to me and give me advice as to what they think I should do next. Should I pursue it? Should I not? Should I? That sort of thing. So the support for that part, as well as the other guide dog program information, is very good.
What would you tell employers about guide dogs, or what did you wish employers knew about guide dogs?
I wish they knew that that the dog, like an employee having a guide dog, is no different than an employee in a wheelchair or an employee using a cane or other kind of mobility device. My dog will be situated in a place during work. We've taken out to relieve and exercise throughout the day at when I'm allowed to get out at lunchtime and such, and that the dog will not be roaming all over the place, and that they're not jumping and barking and yelling, not yelling, but barking at people and disturbing, the environment, and that the employees themselves are, when the dog is in harness, would just ignore the dog and leave them alone. If they want to talk to me, that's fine. But as far as the dog goes, it's like he's not there. I would just like to reassure the employer that it's not going to make any difference whatsoever in the quality or quantity of work or the environment in which we're working in having a guide dog there.
How has your life changed since being partnered with a guide dog?
Well, my life has changed dramatically. I now feel like I have the freedom and confidence to go out and do all the things I'd like to do. Kelly and I are out every day on the buses. We are in different parts of the city, shopping malls. We go everywhere and do everything. Prior to that, to having her, I did a lot of those things because I was always afraid and not confident in my mobility and using a white cane. But with her, I have no question about going anywhere.
Special thank you to Kelly and Blair for giving us your time during Guide Dog Awareness Month. Blair, if you could give Kelly a pat on the head from all of us here at CNIB, and thank you so much for your time and answering the questions. My name is Ryan Hui, Program Lead for Come to Work at CNIB in Ontario West. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.